It is pivotal to the WashU experience to get off campus. I think that the in St. Louis portion of the name of our school is often neglected.
I think for WashU students, the value they will find is that St. Louis is such a multiracial, multi-ethnic, diverse community in so many ways.
I think there's great value in the students getting off campus and coming into the Delmar Loop or other areas too. That's part of life, to interact with people that you might not interact with normally.
Walk a few miles in any direction, go downtown, go to Clayton, come to the Grove. There's really a lot that St. Louis has to offer, and the sooner you do that, I think the better experience you'll have over your 4 years here. I'm born and raised in St. Louis, but I'm actually a boomerang, so I moved away for a couple years and moved back to help my family with the business. And St. Louis is a great place to work and live. I grew up in the county, but I now live in the city. And what I learned is, growing up here is very different than living here as kind of a professional. Even though I've been here for quite a while, I learn new things about the city every day. The Grove is a really funky neighborhood. It's really a unique place to be. It's changed so much over the past few decades. It used to be a very industrial neighborhood, and it's changed into more of a bohemian destination. Great nightlife, dining, cultural events, a really unique place in St. Louis. Folks who've been here for decades, along with newcomers, people who've just moved to St. Louis for their new job, people attending the university. It's a great mix of people and really makes the neighborhood really dynamic. The Grove is really cool because if you're dining on our patio, there's always something cool to see. St. Louis is really unique in the sense that it's either a very big, small town for some people or a small city. It's really a city of neighborhoods, so it can kind of be difficult to kind of get the full experience, but I would recommend you travel all around the region. Every little piece of the city is really unique, has something to offer. It's a really diverse place. You just have to go out and seek it. I think there's some misconceptions nationally about what St. Louis is, but I know that I've got friends who have grown up here all their lives, to friends who just moved here, and they found a little piece of community that fits them and matches their interests. So I would just say go out and seek your people, but at the same time, we love our sports, we love our food. It's a great place to live and work, and I encourage you all to explore it.
I'm originally from Maryland and came to St. Louis my freshman year, ready to explore a new city. And this is definitely one of the places that I've loved coming to in my time here. This is the Grand Basin. So we're right in front of Art Hill and right in front of SLAM, St. Louis Art Museum, which I've also gone to a lot. I think I just think of myself as somebody who really loves being outdoors, really loves being in the city. So Forest Park is a place that I spend a lot of my time. I think part of the reason I chose WashU was because I wanted to be somewhere where I knew there was lots to explore, where I knew I could walk around the city. Forest Park for me was a huge thing. It's just something that brings me a lot of joy. It's very grounding for me. There's tons of trails around Forest Park, and I live in University City, which is I'm a 10-minute bike ride from where we are right now. I just think it's really liberating to have so much space in this city where I can just listen to some music, be by myself, and also look at how amazing everything is around here. I mean, this is beautiful and it's just very peaceful. I think one really big draw of St. Louis that would make me want to stay here long after I've graduated is how much free stuff there is to do here. Because there's SLAM, the Science Center, there's Contemporary Art Museum, and it's a really popular place for WashU students to come, but I think it can feel really special when you're with a group of people and just kind of enjoying everything that's around us. I think it's just important to make sure you're visiting as much of this city as you can. I know there's places that WashU students frequent more than others, and it's always going to be like that. And that's okay, but it's also about branching out. There's a sense of solidarity that comes with knowing your city and knowing the people in it, and I really value that. So.
The Delmar Loop is really cool in so many ways. I realized within a week of opening Blueberry Hill that I wouldn't succeed. It wouldn't succeed if I didn't work on the community. I didn't have money to do that, but I could organize people and just say, hey, let's try to bring this area back. Let's embrace diversity. Let's make it a strength of our neighborhood. And a lot of open-minded and tolerant people moved in and worked together, and I love it. I just love the fact that organically, just bit by bit, this area came back. Somebody didn't come in with $1 billion to try to rebuild it. It happened from a grassroots level, and that's why it's so solid. I guess the way that I would think of community as a definition would be when people really work together and they're open-minded and they're willing to listen to other points of view and discuss them and come to a conclusion what's best for all of us. And that builds a community. When I founded the nonprofit St. Louis Walk of Fame to highlight great St. Louisans who have affected our culture on a national level, it made sense to do it right here on Delmar. It's kind of fun because the informational plaques give you a little background, whether it's Tennessee Williams or Maya Angelou or Nellie or Bob Costas. And I love the fact that it's close to Washington University. We have such a great symbiotic relationship with WashU. There's always something to talk about here because there's just so much to see. I love St. Louis, and I love, in particular, the Delmar Loop, where we are right next to Washington University. I love it because of all the independent business owners and merchants and all the variety of everything you can find here, from clothing boutiques to art galleries to live music venues. You can really have a good time here while you're at school. And your visitors, whether it's your family or relatives or friends, when they come in, bring them on down. I think they'll be knocked out by how cool the street is.
I love Ferguson because it feels like home, and I really connect with the people here, and I just think it's a great place to be. Ferguson is a really small community situated in North County, and the vibe is rejuvenation and unity and a lot of bonding that goes on at the Ferguson Community Center or downtown Ferguson, and it's just a great place to be. So a lot of people who also live in St. Louis but maybe live in different communities kind of have these preconceived notions of maybe what Ferguson is, based on what was televised nationally. That isn't all of what Ferguson is, and they weren't able to see the rebuilding of the community afterwards and the bonding afterwards. So I think that is right now probably our biggest challenge. Not so much like the unity of the community, but just the way that we're perceived maybe by other communities. I think St. Louis has a deep history, and I also think that St. Louis is very diverse. I think that it's important to experience that diversity because St. Louis is also a little bit segregated in that way due to its history. So I think it's important to be able to experience different things that St. Louis has to offer. As hard as it may be to believe, St. Louis is so much bigger than WashU, and you want to try to make it off of WashU's campus. I think that it is a great privilege to go to a school like WashU, and I think that it's important to recognize that we are situated in St. Louis and that we should give back to a community that's gave to us. So whether you're only here for 4 years, if you've lived here your whole life, it's important to get out and explore and see what you can do within the community.
This neighborhood was really developed at the end of the last century, so the late 1800s. And in fact, a lot of the mansions along Lindell and Forest Park were part of the construction for the 1904 World's Fair. But it's really an amazing history here that includes incredible architecture. It's also got a really great literary history. William Burroughs lived here, Kate Chopin, Tennessee Williams, T.S. Eliot. They're all from this neighborhood. I love not having to get in my car all the time. I can walk to grocery stores. I can walk to one of the best bookstores in the country. There are places to eat. It's just the walkability, the livability, the activity, feeling like you're part of a city. One of the wonderful things about living in a neighborhood and living in the Central West End is that we care about each other, that we greet each other on the street. You know, that I know the name of the person who's checking me out at the grocery store. Those are small things, but they're the things that make up a community. And I think that that's important. It's all relationship based. And it makes you feel like you are part of something bigger. And it's part of the joy of the day, right? You walk to a coffee shop and they greet you because they've seen you before. Those are the kinds of small things that add up. It's always wonderful to open up. Open up your brain, open up your heart, open up your spirit, see what things are really like. I mean, just walking around this area, in and of itself, there's beautiful architecture, there's wonderful shops. It's beautiful. It's a lively street scene. And I think that people can understand the diversity of our city when they get out of campus.
So this summer I'm working on Cherokee Street at the Luminary, which is an art gallery. And I love what I do because I get to engage directly with community members every day. So the spirit of Cherokee Street is rather lively, even on a weekday. It's not uncommon to hear music as you're just working and have the door open at your workplace. Lots of energy and definitely a dynamic working environment in my experience. Before I started working on Cherokee Street, I tended to hear that it was generally inaccessible from where I live and go to school, but once I was actually immersing myself in the experience of this community, I found out that those things couldn't be further from the truth. It's a very accessible location for arts and culture and dining and nightlife experiences, as well as not too far from what I call the WashU bubble. I think there's a unique level of devotion and commitment to the St. Louis area exhibited by locals. I think a lot of the people who have grown up here or lived here for a very long time feel an obligation to make the city better. I think we're a very self-aware population as well. We aren't afraid to address the problems that we have as a city as long as we are working together. I think engaging with the St. Louis community is about more than just getting out of your comfort zone, but it's also about applying what you learn in the classroom about social inequity and injustice, and making a material impact on the place you live.
This is a thriving neighborhood. There are folks who have been here all of their lives and have generations of people before them who lived here and cared about this neighborhood. So I think it is unfortunate that, we live in a society where just the categorization of a place can suggest what it is when you really need to get into the neighborhoods and learn what they are. It's described as North St. Louis, just probably 10 minutes northwest of downtown, in the heart of what is a more recent years African-American neighborhood, initially German and Irish and some other ethnicities. Currently we are at the love of my life, the passion of my heart, the everything that makes me go right now, and has been for the last 25 years. We're at the Griot Museum of Black History, which is at 2505 St. Louis Avenue. St. Louis has this really vibrant history, and this really relevant history that just was not being told, particularly as it related to the role of African Americans who had a connection to this region. And it just didn't make sense. You could go other places and in other cities, and even they would have histories that would refer back to St. Louis African Americans, and it just continually made me wonder why we weren't doing it. And although there were several efforts and initiatives to build a Black museum, they just never happened. And before I knew it, I was founding this museum. It's a wonderful place to visit. It's a great experience for students who are in college. It's an excellent research opportunity for folks working on their doctorates and working on masters and wanting to get hands-on experience. St. Louis is an easy place to live. It has a terrible history of racial relationships that it needs to work on continually. But I think, again, for students, that's an opportunity for you to express yourself and have your voice heard beyond the walls of a university.
I love being a proud St. Louisan, as I've spent my entire personal and professional career here, and everything that I do is for the city of St. Louis. Working for St. Louis City SC, it gives me the opportunity to be a part of 2 dream teams. So we are the first Major League sports team to have our headquarters, training facility, and our stadium all within one downtown footprint, which makes the entire downtown West District not only a destination for St. Louisans, but we're truly putting St. Louis on an international stage at a different scale. This was not just about the game of soccer, it was about revitalizing the St. Louis region, but particularly building the downtown West District. It put St. Louis on an international stage and gave us the ability to truly be a new spirit in St. Louis. There's so many people and dedicated leaders that are committed their everyday work to ensuring that our neighborhoods are improving. We have incredible local government who's making sure that we're building infrastructure to have a greater St. Louis. Every experience in St. Louis is unique. Every piece of food that you're going to eat, the multicultural engagement that we have offer in St. Louis, I think is often slept on, to be honest. And I want our students here that are in our region to actually appreciate all the finer things that they get to enjoy and embrace them. So it's really important for students to not only just get out of their bubble, but actually engage with community members. And so one thing that is really near and dear to my heart is servant leadership. So that means getting out, volunteering, being of service, doing the little things that don't always get the big press, but you're making a difference, and to be a positive change, be the change that you want to see. My motto of don't just play the game, change it, encompasses that there's no room for you to be complacent, and challenging the status quo is important every step of the way. We're trailblazing here in St. Louis with the first female majority-led ownership group. We're trailblazing with new leadership and diverse thought. This makes our region stronger. That means go volunteer at your nearest shelter. Go to the nearest restaurants, but look at everything that also gives you an opportunity to do good. Living life by the golden rule is an active everyday practice.